This is part 2 of this video. So if you haven't watched part 1 already, click on the link in the description to bring you there to watch that portion first. Now, we have different ways to document what's happening, and I believe that we have an increased level of poverty and less savings. We have individuals not being able to pay their bills. Everything is getting worse, it seems. And that's, of course, when you scratch the surface. The surface is always, in most cases, it's going to look pretty. But underneath that, you reveal the dirt. You reveal what's truly lurking under there. What happens when your kids move home or never move out? We want to hear from US parents whose nests have stayed full. For the first time in more than 130 years, young US adults are more likely to live with their parents than in any other housing situation. Nearly a third of all Americans aged between 18 and 34 currently live with their parents, while 31% are shacked up with a partner. You're talking about a very large percentage of people nowadays, young people, are living with their parents. This presents a very big problem. Now, and if an individual wants to live with their parents, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But if you're living with your parents because you can't afford to move out, that, everyone, is the problem. 1970, take these statistics where you look at the average housing price compared with the average wage, you would be able to buy that house after a few short years. Then you move forward 40 years and you'll see that it's significantly higher. In fact, it would take you, think of the average person, they get their mortgage for 25 years and a lot of them are lucky to pay that off in that 25-year period. A lot of them end up taking out second and third mortgages. They'll never pay it back. So what we have is a situation that is very, very clear. Less disposable income, less savings, and more hardship. Yet, at the same time, asset prices are rising. So you as an individual, if you're invested in assets, you're probably going to do better than a person who's in massive amounts of debt. That's just a simplification of it. Let's move on to this one quickly. Poverty is increasing. The ILO estimated that in 2012, over 300 million people in developed countries were living in poverty. That's a huge number. But of course, that's the entire globe. But still, 300 million people in developed nations are suffering, living in poverty. And of course, this could be eradicated very quickly, but the government has their own agenda. Anyway, let's just take it for what it is. We have poverty increasing. Connected in with that, despite mud, trash, and rats, residents plead with the city not to shut the Soda homeless camp. All around the US, even in Canada, other areas, particularly where the climates are a bit more mild, you tend to see this more. But there is so much poverty, homelessness, tent cities being set up everywhere. They're trying to shut down certain ones. But ultimately, where are they going to go? You have a very, very bad situation where the middle class is evaporating. Look to any developing nation and you will find there's no middle class. You have a bunch of rich people and a whole bunch of poor people, and that's the way it is. But when you look to these developed nations today, you will see over the years, slowly but surely, the middle class is being eviscerated. They're being sent off into the long-term memories of individuals. The 2010 flash crash. Remember what happened? Well, for those who don't, very quickly, a computer algorithm, which, by the way, trades nearly all of the stocks today, nearly all the money being traded today is traded with computers, done automatically based on whatever the heck has been told to them. And you'll see this for yourself, 2010 flash crash, how it crashed so dramatically in a very, very short period of time. I think it was, let's say, 20 or 30 minutes. The stock market had, actually it says right there, just 20 minutes, the biggest stock plunge in decades, all traced to one gargantuan sell order. This should frighten anybody, and not just those who are invested in stocks. People whose pension funds are all relying on what happens with the stock market. And at any moment, your stocks can be evaporated. And you don't think so because you think it's guaranteed, because you think you've chosen the right stock. You think because those in control will put a stop order. They have money invested. Their companies are at risk. They're not going to allow this to happen. But I believe, and this is my personal belief, that at some point, for some reason altogether, there will be a moment in time where we are shaken out, and they will purposely create or allow organically to create a deflationary environment. That deflation could get very, very bad, at which point all of those who have the money start to take theirs, putting it in to the stock markets, buying the bonds, buying whatever it is that they feel is undervalued, and then they ramp up the printing presses. And so, lo and behold, their value increases dramatically. This is what I believe will happen. They will create a hyperinflationary environment. They can anyway, but not until we see a major deflation. I think it's going to be very serious. I am totally in agreement with Mike Maloney on that, because it just seems like the most logical way to do things. For them anyway. And interconnected with that, my last point for today is this. There was a study done that determined that essentially all of the world is controlled by a small group of corporations. And it totals them up here in this document, a report. And what we're looking at is 147 transnational corporations are at the core. They found tens of thousands of corporations that essentially control everything in the world. But the conglomerates, the, let's say, parent companies who own all of those other companies, you break it down to 147. Now, if you have 147 people in a room, let's say the top person in each one of those companies, I don't know, like a Bilderberg meeting, you could control the entire world. You can manipulate the stock market. You could decide what will crash and what will rise. You could say when the wars will take place. You could decide absolutely any factor globally, because a small group of people control a small set of corporations that control a larger set of corporations that ultimately control the entire world. So I say to you, where is your money today? Do you feel fully responsible for every action that you take? And have you made all of the right decisions? Have you done all your due diligence, all your homework for this? Whatever that is, investing in stocks, maybe you're trying to go off grid, maybe you are building a business, investing in precious metals, anything that you do, you have to be responsible, take the initiative, do your homework, and make sure that it is the right thing. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. I want to know your feedback. I want to know your thoughts on everything that I do, not just on this video. And last but not least, if you found this video informative, I know you will find my books, The Money GPS, and my new release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. If you want to find out more about this video, if you want to know about all of the e-course, then check out my website. When you go to my website, you will see the free e-course, which is here. You'll see information about my books. You'll see the free ebooks and so much more. That is at themoneygps.com. Check it out. My books, the e-course, free e-course, which has so much information, hours and hours of free information to hopefully help people dissect exactly what's going on. Take care.